just such a blessing. And we have started here today acknowledging Memorial Day. This weekend, we observe some time to honor the people who sacrificed to serve our country. And I really do think, as I said in the meditation just a few moments ago, remembrance itself can be a spiritual practice. And I feel like it's a great way to lead in today just because it asks us to pause. And the idea of remembering. And the idea that a memorial is being mindful. All of those things helps us see the day in a little bit different light. It allows us to honor what has been and allow gratitude and grief and fear and anger all to be in the same place, which is kind of where I'm going today with the talk. And so I love that it weaves so nicely together, and that this connection that we're deeply exploring today, the sacred art of allowing, is kind of dovetailed by our Memorial Day holiday. Because so much of the suffering that I see, I'm not sure about you, in my experience, so much of my suffering, I should say, is due to what I think is here that should not be here. Or what I think should be here that's not. And I want to talk today about this art of allowing, not as a passive thing, like, oh, I'll just allow it all, but as an active thing that we do so that we don't go to war with ourselves. This is the way that I see it. It's an active thing that I do to keep me from going to war with myself. So I'd like to start with a story about the Buddha. And it happens on the night of his enlightenment. If we go to that first slide. The hardest part of living inside my head is trying to join in on the conversation. Okay. So before I go there, I thought about this, and I'm thinking about the Buddha story, right? That he just sits underneath the Bodhi tree, and I'm like, I'm sitting underneath that Bodhi tree, and there is a million things going on in my head, kind of like I started the meditation with. There's just things popping in all the time, like, man, the traffic was bad this morning. Why did it take me so long to get here? I wanted to be here like 5 minutes sooner. Normally, like, I'll just go off into this whole spiel about why I was 10 minutes later than I was supposed to be. And, people should text me back. I texted her 3 times. She's ghosting me. Why is that happening? Technology. Why does it not work the way I want it to? And then the thing is I start arguing with myself because I start thinking to myself, I shouldn't think that way. I'm supposed to be positive. I should give that affirmation. I'm going to affirm that technology is, and then the other part of me is going, that's not helping anything. You can still see that screen's not working. It doesn't matter about that affirmation. And then it's like a war that's in my head. And so I'm reminded about the Buddha who's just sitting there. I'm thinking, how does enlightenment really happen sitting under the tree when there's a whole committee in my head telling me all these other things? How do I ever get there? And there's a story about the Enlightenment. I don't know if you've heard it. We go to that next slide, and we see Buddha sitting under the tree upon his enlightenment. He didn't just sit there and not think anything. He was tempted by a demon they call Mara. And Mara is technically not just a demon, as we'll find. Mara is what we would call separation thinking. So in the first phase, as he sits underneath the Bodhi tree, he's tempted by a lot of desires. So Mara shows up as beautiful women, of food and wine and anything that would distract him. It might be your phone today, scrolling on the phone or watching and binging Netflix. It could be a million small things and a million big things. So Buddha sits there and literally sits with it and just sits with it and allows it in that space. In the next act, we go to the next slide, he is met by fear, and Mara shows up as a demon and tries to scare him and tries to inflict him with doubt that he's sitting there for nothing and something's just going to come along and eat him, like he was a little squirrel in that tree, and that all of these things that he believes is not real, and that one day he's going to wake up and find there's nothing and he's done this for nothing. He sits there all night, and Mara keeps showing up again and again. And the Buddha just sits there and allows. So in that sacred space, Buddha does not push back and say, I shouldn't be thinking this. I shouldn't be afraid of this. There's nothing to say that Buddha didn't have feelings. Those feelings, they came up too. And in the story, it says he suffered arrows and swords of pain and fear and doubt, all of those things that Mara was sending upon him, that he allowed himself to feel them all and to be okay with it. And in the morning, when he was awakened, he literally was awakened to this knowingness of enlightenment. But it doesn't stop there. The real cool thing about this for me is Mara keeps showing up. Now, wouldn't you think that once he's enlightened, that all that tempting is gone? I was shocked. I would have thought, yes, all of that was gone. But it wasn't. Mara kept showing up, and it'd show up at inopportune times. For example, he was about to speak to people, and his attendant, Ananda, would run out. Mara's here, you're about to speak. What are we going to do? Mara's here. He would panic, and Buddha would say, thank you, Ananda. Please send Mara here. And he would invite Mara into his tent and say, Mara, I see you. I see you. Come have tea. And he'd sit down, and he'd pour tea and sit there with Mara. And eventually, Mara would get up and walk away. So I feel the big part we focus on is that enlightenment. Like he was enlightened and nothing ever fazed him. Nothing bad ever came his way. And to me, the really cool part about this is that Mara kept showing up. It gives me some hope that maybe I'm not doing it wrong when I'm following all this stuff. Like as it keeps, I'm like, why does it keep coming back up? Well, if it kept coming back up for the Buddha, well then guess what? It's going to keep coming back for me. And what it shows me is boiling down to all of my thoughts about this should not be happening. I should not feel this way. That is where the true suffering is. It's not because things happen. It's not because Mara shows up. Mara can be symbolically anything that distracts us, anything that takes us out of oneness thinking, oneness consciousness, and puts us into a state of separation. So it could be something as simple as scrolling on the phone and then not realizing how caught up you got in that scrolling. It could be letting a news story bother us. Or it could be something as big as the death of a loved one or a storm that comes and demolishes a whole bunch of things like a big hurricane. It could be as little as or as big as we see it. And Buddha's process of allowing and asking to tea was seeing it honestly, seeing the situation for what it is without a lot of attachment, and then allowing it to be there without fighting and saying, it shouldn't be here. It shouldn't be this way. If this could only change, if this person could only do it this way. There, you drop the rope of the tug of war, and there is no more fight. So it's not that it's there, it's that it's not fighting within us anymore. If we go to the next slide, this all comes out of a book called Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach. And Tara says that radical acceptance is the willingness to experience ourselves and our lives just as they are. Allowing is, I see you, Mara. And acceptance is, I can meet you with compassion and offer you some tea. That I understand that hurt people hurt people. That's what it's saying. So that part that comes up in us even, that's wanting to be that inner critic. We all have one. I think I have like a whole committee of inner critics. They all have different ideas about different topics, and it's like that first slide. It's like I just kind of sit back and they just all kind of go up there. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so it's the idea that I can be open to them and know that the reason why they're like that is something in my past was hurtful. And that part of me is still holding it. And so I can offer compassion, and once I can do that for me, I can do that for others too. Because when I see that they do that, I see that hurt people hurt people. And I can offer tea. Not only can I allow it to be, I can show some compassion to it. And in this, the acceptance, the peace doesn't always feel completely good and happy, but there's no more war. And then it allows compassion and healing to come up. And this state of separation that we're constantly getting caught into, in psychology of Buddhism, they call this the trance of unworthiness. And they feel that it can all go back to some idea that we're not enough. And if you're like, oh yeah, I was through that, I'm so much better now, I feel like I'm enough. However, whatever it is that we turn up on ourselves is I did it wrong, or God's not really there, or I'm not really that important. It all comes back to the feeling of not being worthy enough. So in the next slide, she kind of speaks to that a little bit. She says, everything within and around us is subject to change. The truth that if we try to hold on to or resist the stream of experience, we deepen the trance of fear. So being in separation thinking, they call it being in the trance. And the whole point of this is to wake up and to come out of the trance. Like we were lost, we didn't know for a while. Awakening is awakening to the fact that the trance isn't real. It might be our experience that we have that, but we can have an awakened, present experience to everything that is here. I used to go to Dharma talks, and I cannot remember the name of my teacher that was there, but he was wonderful. He said, it's like showing up to the table of life and being happy about everything on the table, experiencing the full bounty of everything that life has to offer for you. And I thought how I welled up with hope that, oh my gosh, to be able to take it all in, the good, the bad, all of the things, to take it all in and to live it out fully. That is what I want. That is what I want. And that is when I discovered this book, is because I knew that it was my resistance that was keeping me in the trance, keeping me thinking, well, a spiritual person wouldn't react like this. And that keeps me in the trance. But instead, allowing means that I'm not passive, but instead, I stop denying my experience and I open up to life. So we all have a Mara story. Like, I'm not sure what your Mara is. Can you identify the way Mara shows up in your life to keep you feeling separate? It gets complicated. I sat with it in meditation for a long time. And I can even remember to the point like of I just putting sheer will into it. Like, I am gonna get through this. Have you ever done that? It's painful. It is painful because that's not what it's meant to do. It's not meant to sit there in the pain and wallow in it. We even have that song that we sing here, Hold the Sky, where it says, when you go through hell, fine, just don't stop for tea. But I took it too literally. And there for a while in my meditation practice, I was sitting with these feelings way too long. And I was in way too much pain. Now, I'm glad that I'm out of that, but I was realizing that there was a second wing to the mindfulness thing that I wasn't including. I was all up here in my head, and I had sat with Mara, but I had never offered Mara tea before. I had never had that compassion. And this is the difference from sitting nights, staying awake with adrenaline, because I'm in anxiety, and I'm in fear, and I'm in grief, and I'm saying, I'm going to sit with this because that's what they told me to do, and they say this is a spiritual thing, and it sure doesn't feel spiritual, and not having that second wing. Here's the difference. Okay, so a couple nights ago, Mara still comes. I'm on the phone with my mother, and most of you have heard, not all of you have heard, that on April 14th, my dad made his transition. My mother has been a caregiver to my father for years. He has been sick. And for the last 3 years, he's been very sick, and along with all of his illnesses, dementia on top of it. And it was a very difficult situation. My mother and father were married for almost 68 years. Their anniversary is this month. And that's just a long time. And it's a long time when you're giving care to someone 24/7 without help. And here I am, and I'm feeling pretty good in my space about my father and losing my father. I've been processing that for a long time because he hasn't been my dad for a long time. His body has been here, and he's not been here. So I've been actively processing that, wanting to be here for my mother. And what has happened instead is I'm arguing with my mother on the phone, and I realize I'm raising my voice, not like yelling, but like the tone, the pitch goes up high. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? And we're talking about bank, something that she has to do with the bank, and it's always around, the money from the life insurance and her getting her stuff together, and we've been helping her with all of the arrangements and all the many things you have to end up doing when someone that close to you, you have all of their stuff to take care of. And I'm thinking, why am I doing this? And I start shooting on myself. Oh my gosh, have some compassion, Sandy. This man has just gone. It hasn't even been just about a month. Why is this happening? I'm thinking, going down this road, why am I arguing with her when all I want to do is be there for her? I'm a horrible person. Like, why am I doing this? Oh my gosh, and then I stopped. And I took a breath, and I thought, okay, what do I feel? My shoulders are even up thinking about it. You see it? I feel tense. My shoulders are up. I feel constricted. I feel constricted. I feel like I can't do anything. Oh my gosh. I feel helpless. I want to help her. And I know that she's doing this because she doesn't process her emotions very well. And she is running and ruminating over all these arrangements because it's helping her cope right now. And it's the only thing she knows to do. And I got caught up in her reel. And the reason why I was starting to fight with her, not was because I was arguing with her, it's because I felt helpless and I didn't know what else to do. I want to be there for her, and I felt like I wasn't able to help enough because I can't go through her grief for her. I can't do it. And it hurts to see someone you love hurting. And so then I could put my hand over my heart and say, of course you feel that. You want to help your mother. You want to be there for her. And it feels helpless not to be able to. And it's okay. You're human, and you're there, and that's what she needs. And I took another breath. And I was sitting with it and not letting it go. Sitting with it, sitting with my humanness with. And then in the process, she was still talking while all this is happening, and she's still talking. And I give it another breath, and then it's gone, and now I'm present with my mom again and said, okay, well, how about I just come over tomorrow, and we'll go ahead and go through it, and then on Tuesday, when the bank opens up, even my husband, Dwight, will all go together and do it. And she loved that idea, that we were all going together to finish those arrangements. That is the difference between just being mindful and sitting with it and offering Mara tea. The compassion makes the entire difference. On the next slide is Tara's thoughts about this. So there are two wings of radical acceptance. One is mindfulness, and it's so important to be able to see clearly what's actually happening, to notice what's going on, and to name it gently. And that's exactly what I did. I've been doing this for a long time in many different forms. So I paused, and the pause is not enough for me. When we say pause, pray, and proceed, that is not enough for me. I cannot do it. I don't know about you, but it just keeps going. So I pause, and I notice what's here. I notice the frustration. I notice the tense. I realized that when I was feeling constricted and frustrated, I finally recognized in that pause that was helplessness. And I was able to bring and name gently what was going on with me and say, I see you to myself. I see that in me. Then, in that, I was allowed to offer kindness first to myself for having and being human and having that emotion. So I could offer care. What do I need in this now minute to get me back on track? And to recognize that this is a hard thing. I am human, and I can only do so much. And I care about my suffering, and I care about her suffering. And after I could take a breath into that, then I could be there with my mom, and I offered a solution that she actually loved, and it made us more connected because we were going to do everything together, which is what she's craving right now, is connection. So both wings are so important. It's not just sitting with it and being mindful of it. It's also offering compassion. And if we don't offer it first to ourselves, how are we going to offer it to anyone else? And so naming it and offering it tea has been my practice for a while. There's a deeper practice in this called RAIN. And I would love for you to know more about it. I'm actually going to plug a class. I'll be doing a class on her work on radical acceptance in June on Tuesdays. And I will also offer a workshop in July that you don't have to be at the class for. It's completely separate. So you can come, you don't need the book. You can come and show up and talk about these concepts of the mindfulness and the wings, and you can talk about it and see if you can maybe start putting some of these practices into your own life. And I just want it for you because it's been such a blessing for me. I mean, I look back at that story I just told you with gratitude. And I can remember like shooting on myself and smacking myself because why couldn't, before, and longer days of long gone, why couldn't I stop and just be a nice person, and then being off the phone and thinking to myself, why couldn't I just stop myself then? Why didn't I see then what I see now? And now I can pause in the middle of it and get myself back on track, which is what I would want for you. And that's the art of allowing. The art of allowing is I can go back, even if I hadn't realized it on the phone. I could sit after realizing it and offer myself love and her love and radiate that out even after that phone call was over. And I think that's what we all want to do in waking up to who we really are, to allow that love to come through us. So kind of bringing it back to where we started, Memorial Day, it reminds us that love and loss are woven together in human life. And it invites us to remember with tenderness and to remain open, that there's more than one feeling and that we can be with it. So the first question is always, what is here now with me? And the second question is always, how can I be with it? Because we always can be with it. There's something, if you notice the wings and then you notice the radical acceptance in the middle, there's something grounding it in the middle that is more than the mindfulness and more than the compassion. And that's the spirit in us, yes? That is the spirit in us, guiding us, that is stronger than us, that can always get us through anything. And what I find really crazy is this is also, if you'll notice, when you walk out the door today, it is the Unity wing symbol. So Unity came up with this symbol years in the 1800s. And symbolically to unity, the circle in the middle is the world. And the wings are the soul. And the sun around it is spirit that envelops all of it. And the whole idea is that the soul gives wings to the body or the earth in spirit. And we can see it on every plane. We can see it that the body is me and my soul gives wings to me in spirit. We can see that us together as an entire consciousness gives our souls, give wings to this earth, and we're able to lead in spirit around, which I think is pretty awesome, that this would be the same as the unity symbol. And so I invite you to take a look at the class, to buy the book. It's just called Radical Forgiveness. It's probably in every used bookstore because it's been around for 25 plus years. It probably looks different than this now because mine's one of the first copies. And if you can't come to the class, come to the workshop in July, and you can do that too. And winding it to a close again today, if we go to that last slide, what Tara Brach said about remembering, it says, if our hearts are ready for anything, we can open to our inevitable losses and to the depths of our sorrow. We can grieve our losses, our lost youth, our lost health, our lost capacities. This is the part of our humanity, the part of our expression of our love for life. And this is what I would like everyone to be able to experience, is that love, to be with that. There's a simple image used in a lot of wisdom traditions that if you have a glass of muddy water and you keep stirring it or shaking it, it never clears. And if you let the glass sit, it might take longer than you'd like, but all of the mud and the dirt settles to the bottom. So when fear and grief and anger and shame, all of them arise as mud in our glass, we resist it, we judge it, and we just keep shaking and stirring it up. And today, I'd like to offer you to maybe try a little different practice of allowing it to settle. And notice that when you stop shaking, then the compassion and love that was hiding underneath it, there all the time, heals that situation. It has the power to heal. So maybe this week when Mara appears, and Mara will appear somewhere, little or small, we can practice something different. We can let it sit instead of stirring it up. We can pause, we can feel, we can put our hand on our heart and say, I see you, Mara. Thank you for being with me today. And I see the Christ light in each and every single one of you. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.